Welcome, welcome. Thank you for welcome you to Divine Aligned Position for His Purpose 2020 Virtual Women's Conference here. So we got Vicky Yowie and we got Pastor Reva Tins. Vicky Yowie's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's Vicky Yowie Ministries. And then we have Pastor Reva Tins from Majestic Life, Orlando, Florida. And then joining us is Dr. Monica Gord, Wings of Healing Christian Center, Stockton, California, my friends. Welcome. Thank you for attending our Women's Conference 2020. And, you know, I didn't want to do it this year. We were on our way to Pastor Reva's Tim's conference in March, like we've been going. And all of a sudden, you know, it just cut off. Everything happened. So tell us about what happened. Woman at the Well conference.
Yeah, so Woman at the Well, we decided that we were going to postpone it until October. And then in prayer, the Lord said, no, you need to go ahead and just have it postponed until 2021. And I'm so glad that we did that, kind of by the leading of the Holy Spirit. But we were a little disappointed, to say the least, because we have, thousands of women that come in to get poured into at the well. So a lot of them just said, just roll over our registrations till next year. So I like the fact that you continue with yours virtually. I think that was an excellent idea as well. But no, we ended up postponing ours.
But it's not easy, because I've never done it before. And so when you haven't done something before, you don't know how it's going to turn out. So I was going to do what you did. And the lady was like, no, we need it. A lot of women are discouraged. A lot of women, just don't know how to fight through, being in church, and they just don't know how to connect. And I'm finding, that a lot of women are disconnecting because they're used to a building. And the church, it's just a building, but church begins in you, So we kept our tickets. So they let our tickets. So we'll be there next year. We didn't have to do anything with our flight, nothing with our room. We're still going to be at the Marriott, and so everything's good. We'll be there next year and excited about it. I had such a great time when we were there. You treated us really well, and I want to say thank you. Food was good, awesome workshop, just powerful. So I thank God for Pastor Gord, Dr. Gord, good friend from Stockton. But Vicky Yowie, I'm so glad you're with us, and you're going to be ministering on Thursday with song. And, I got your book. So how I got your book, and you didn't know, can you see it? You signed it. Yeah. And you said, Pastor Ginger, love you, sis, no more secrets. So you signed this book and you sent it, but you sent it to my assistant for over 17 years. And she said,
I remember her. Yes.
Yeah, she does.
She said she loves you and you got it. Yes. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, so you kind of connected with her because she does, it works. So I'm so glad that she sent it to me, so I got to read it a little bit. But, women that went through what you went through, it's just awesome to know how you got over. And I'm glad you joined us. And so Vicky, your dad was a preacher, and you're the youngest out of 3 girls. And only 1 boy. And so in your book, you wrote in there, you grew up in United Pentecostal Church organization, and your church was predominantly 70% African American and 30% white Americans. What have you experienced in the racial unrest and the tension that escalated recently? How were you able to get over that, or did you encounter any things as racial tension that can, cause a ministry to be divided? Do you remember your dad at any time in the ministry having encountered types of issues like this, and how would you address it?
Well, it was in South Dakota. I was 5 years old. We lived there from 5 years old till I was 15. I never knew anything about racism. Never. In South Dakota, no. We never, I never even you know, they were just our brothers and sisters. I mean, our choir was the bomb. I mean, it was just, we just had never did I ever, if there was something going on like that, I never, you know, my parents would say, you know, we were just like, we're different from them. It was never ever till I moved to Louisiana. I felt it from both sides, you know. And but when I was younger, growing up in our church, no, absolutely, didn't have any racism, things like that at all.
That's good. What would you say to a church that is dealing with that, with being prominent? As a 70%, you said in your book that your family, your church family was 70% African.
Yes, absolutely.
So your dad never encountered that. And what would you say to a church that is encountering racism, or what could you share?
I think we need to, you know, focus on Jesus. I mean, bring everybody together on God. While we're here, for me personally, I look at you, I look at all you ladies, you're just another woman of God for me, because I wasn't raised that way. I mean, my sons are Black. I take a bullet for my sons. So I have a heart. If I know there are people that are racist out there on both sides, even in the church. I mean, I remember going to some churches, and I felt, even just going to an all Black church, feeling like, okay, until I began to sing, I was just like, I'm just being honest with you. As soon as I sang, boy, they were all, you know. So I felt it from this side also as a singer, you know. But I think if we point everybody to God, that's the only thing. What I believe is that the extreme elements on both sides will never help resolve the issue. I think, you know, the extreme on both sides. I think we've got to come together. And, you know, segregation on what do they say on Sunday morning? That's the most segregated day of the week. Well, let me tell you my view on it. Okay, I'm glad you asked, and you want to hear my view. White people want to go to church in and out in 1 hour. I'm just telling you, not me. I don't know what you call me. I don't know what I am, but I like to stay. I like all day church. And you know, the Lord came through, just singing the Lord came through one time. In a Black church, they'll say the Lord came through 150 times. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But most white people want to go in, get out. They don't want to stay very long. But what we have to understand is, historically, when Blacks would go to church, it was a safe place, and they would be there 3 and 4 hours, you know? And so I think it's not because people are racist. I think it's a cultural thing. A part of it, a cultural thing. It's very different. White churches, you know when you're going to get out, pretty much, you know. There's some churches that are multicultural, you know, like Pastor Bill Winston. He'll do some old spirituals, and he'll bring in some more Hillsong type things. So I honestly don't believe that a white person don't go to a Black church because, oh, those are Black people. I just don't believe that at all. I believe it's a cultural thing.
You want to say something, Reba, on that, or?
Yeah, you know, I do think that it is definitely cultural, but I do believe that there are racist people, and
absolutely,
unfortunately, you know, they don't want to maybe worship with another race because of that, and a lot of them were reared up to be racist, or to think that, or supremacists, to think that they are superior to someone of a different race, and therefore they don't want to even come into the sanctuary and worship with another race. So
they need to get saved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They gonna like heaven. They ain't gonna like heaven. That's for sure.
Right. Dr. Gore, what do you think about that? Because it's true, we can't deny that anymore. You know, it's true, because on Sunday morning it is the most segregated. You got a Black church here, you got, you know, and we're pretty blessed at our church. We got a multicultural church, and it's a blessing. And we don't see race, you know.
That's so good.
But it's there, you know. But Dr. Gore, what were you saying?
I agree that, you know, some of it is cultural. But a lot of it is that people prefer to worship with, be around, be in the crowd with people that are like them, you know, and so it
on
is.
Both sides.
It's,
Both sides, right? You're talking about both sides.
exactly. That's why I said people,
Yeah.
and so,
Right.
because we tend to gravitate towards what is familiar to us, we oftentimes might not look at it as racism, but oftentimes it is. But we know in Christ, there's no color, right? And we need to focus
Amen.
Lord. It's not, we're all children of God, and he doesn't see that. And so I agree with what Vicky said. We're going to have to broaden our horizon and recognize we're not going to be comfortable in heaven because it's going to be people from every culture,
Amen.
Even as you're aware, Pastor Ginger, I oversee 2 Spanish-speaking
Right.
congregations. So, there's big cultural differences when we go, and even right now in the midst of the transaction we're in, we were even talking the other day, one of the pastors and I, we were saying, okay, we know a lot of our differences are cultural. We come together in spite of it. When I go and preach for them, I preach with the translators. So that's a whole nother realm for me, right? Because I'm a fast preacher, but I have to wait and let the translators say their part. And so there's differences there. And so we're learning, those of us that are kingdom minded and God focused, we're learning. We want to have, just that oneness in the body, regardless to race, creed, culture, color, whatever it may be. We want to just be one. But there is that undertone that's there, and we have to be willing to leave our comfort zone and broaden our horizon when it comes to race and culture. And so it can be uncomfortable, but I think it's very necessary. And, I even, with the churches that I oversee, I just admire their zeal for God, their love for God, the sincerity that they have. And so I think we would all benefit from broadening our horizon and experiencing other cultures and coming together and just having that. We don't even want it to be tolerance. We want it to be love, right? And I think that's what's necessary in the body of Christ.
Dr. Gordon, I want to congratulate you on your building. Share with, when I got to Reva Timms, I want to get to Reva Timms because both of you all kind of are, well, not kind of, but both of you are female pastors, and you've been through a lot. Dr. Gordy, your testimony is just phenomenal of the things that you've been through. And as you being a female pastor, what you encounter in your city, it's hard being a female pastor because not everybody, and she's a thriving woman of God, and God is just using her. And she is literally, swallowing up Stockton, California. And sometimes as a female pastor, not everybody, they tolerate you, but they're not going to celebrate you. But very shortly, share with us the testimony of what happened just a couple of weeks.
God blessed us. For years, we have had declarations that we said, and I kind of pulled away from the declarations because time has a way of kind of messing you up. You got to keep yourself in faith. But I'm just so excited about what God is doing because he blessed us not to buy our building. He blessed us to buy our block. Amen. And so I'm so excited. I'm in awe still. And we're in the midst of renovations in one of the buildings and preparing one of our daughter churches to move into one of the other buildings. But God blessed us to purchase an entire city block. And I'm just so excited about what the Lord is doing. And, I give God the glory because I always say about myself, without the Lord, I couldn't figure my way out of a paper bag. But through Christ, we could do anything, right? And so I honor the Lord. I'm excited. I'm excited that he did it in this hour. He could have did it. We've been decreeing that we own that block. 15 years ago, we started decreeing. We would stand up every Sunday in our declarations. We would say we own the entire 800 block of East Main Street, and God has brought it to pass. And it's so funny because he had me several weeks ago preach from Hebrews where it talks about holding fast the profession of your faith. And while I was preaching, I got so caught up that I just had to just stop in the preaching, and we just went up in a praise. And it was 2 days later that the Lord just moved me to step out and talk to the owner, had that owner meet our terms. And just when I tell you God is awesome, and I'm so excited that we're in a time where so many people are without hope. So many people are giving up. And I'm just in awe of God that he allowed us to do this in this hour, in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a time when people feel hopeless and helpless and are giving up and going the ways of the world. But God is blessing the faithful. And so I just honor God. So that's my testimony. We just purchased our block and I'm just so excited. I'm juiced for Jesus about it.
Yeah.
Wow. So Reba, when I drove up to your church, and now I've been to Destiny Christian Center, right? Is that right? So way before Pastor Tim's alive. So we saw that. I mean, beautiful, beautiful. But just to see that everything, when all falls apart in your book, I mean, you're pastoring a mega church, and and you went through some things. You struggled. I read your book. I've been a part of the struggle, but driving up to see the recompense of what God did for you in the midst of your trouble. And I just, in your book, you stated the painful experiences, and you begin to ask God, why me? And how would you encourage those that always say, why me? Because women say that. We always say, why me? Because we don't want to go through anything. And it's painful when we go through. Can you talk a little bit about your book?
Yes. Okay. So that was my first book, When It All Falls Apart. My second book is When It All Comes Together. And so that's a good one there. But I do want to say congratulations, Pastor Gort, for that wonderful testimony.
Praise God.
On the entire block. That is huge. For me, the why me was I saved myself from marriage. I went to church. I've been saved since I was 7 years old. It was like all these things that you were supposed to do. And then you find yourself in a situation where you lose everything. So the question that normally will come is like, why me? Why am I going through this? And one of the things that the Lord really began to deal with me during that time was that you're not a victim. He said, I've never created you to be a victim. You're always victorious. And that was a little bit difficult for me to swallow, because many times we want to point the finger. He did this to me, that happened to me, they did this. And many times God is not even going to deal with that through me. He'll deal with that on his own. He said, but now I'm trying to get something dealt with in you. And so the why me during that time was God started to strengthen me. He started getting out some of the stuff that was not good, the unforgiveness. He started dealing with some other areas in my life. And so it was almost as if he was cultivating me and strengthening me during the why me stage. And so for any woman that is going through that right now, it's like, why me? You might want to look in the mirror and say, why not me? And begin to say, okay, God, what is it that I'm to learn from this? God, what are you trying to fix in me? How are you growing me for the next season? And that's how he dealt with me in that season. And when you point the finger, their fingers pointing back at you. And it was the weirdest thing, because while I wanted God to address them, he was addressing me. He said, you got a religious spirit. And I didn't really understand a Pharisaical spirit, like I just I kept myself from marriage. I did this, I did that. And God was like, isn't that your reasonable service?
Right.
When you're saved, isn't that what you're supposed to do? So he started dealing with those areas and like, oh my goodness. And so through all of that, I began to see through the eyes of Jesus Christ. I began to see people through the compassion of Jesus, seeing their frailties. And that in that season, that's when I started to really understand the power of forgiveness. The power of forgiveness is not something that you can do in the natural. It is impossible to forgive atrocities that are done to you in the natural. It is only by the Spirit that you can really forgive.
Yes.
Reba, when I drove up to the church, they dropped me off in the front, right? And so I kind of just stepped back, and tears came to my eyes, because I know as a woman, we are attacked from every side. And just to, go through what you've been through, and to see it, God, just bring it back to you. Look, greater than it was before, because I've seen both campuses. And when I looked around, and what really got me is when I walked in there, the men.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
church is full of men. It's just not like, female pastor, you got all these, women, and it's nothing but just the character and the love in the men that are in the church. That
Yes,
was
we are
amazing.
blessed. We are blessed, and I know Pastor Gordon, you might experience that as well, where people think that when they walk into your campus, it's just going to be a bunch of women,
Right.
But I don't look at our church as a female church. I just look at it as the Church of Jesus Christ. And so
Exactly.
my pastors and other females ask me, well, how do you get that many men to come to your church? And it's really, I don't throw away my femininity. God
Right.
made me a woman, and I'm going to have the feminine aspects of a woman.
Yes.
And sometimes women make the mistake to be a man. They act like a man to get men, but that's not what's going to bring the masculinity of men. And really, one of the things that we do is the men lead. They lead worship. They do the announcements a lot of times. They're honor guarding, and so you become what you behold. So when people are in the congregation, and when they see men, the congregation become more men. It's just a spiritual principle, and we let them lead and do what they have to do. So it's been a blessing.
It has, and I just want to say, continue to do the great work that God is doing in Orlando, and so that Vicki, the song that you ministered to me, because of who you are, I give you glory. Every time you play that, it just ministered to me. But this was okay. So you came to our church that you don't remember, 2003.
I remember now.
Oh, okay, you remember now. Okay, so my son-in-law, he pastors, and so he was telling his daughter. So he had your CD, and so my granddaughter, she was playing your CD probably about a month ago, and she was saying, and I was talking about you coming, and she was like, oh, I play her song all the time. She makes me cry. And so you touch so many lives, but now I see when you made that song, or when you sing it because of who you are. Women deal with insecurities and they don't know who they are, Vicki. And in your book, you talked about how, you weren't called, you don't remember being called beautiful. You remember being called cute. There's a difference between cute. Girl, you look cute in those shoes. You look cute with that outfit. But to be called beautiful, it goes deeper. A woman wants to be called beautiful. To be called cute and other people are called beautiful, seems like you're missing something, like there's a flaw in your life. And women develop insecurities. And so, in your book, you kind of share about that insecurity. Vicki, minister to the women of God that deal with that, because we deal with that.
Well, for me, in my marriage, I was married for 18 years. I never heard the word, you're beautiful. Cute, that's pretty. And I would see women on Facebook, and I'm not trying to say, I think everybody's beautiful, but I mean, they're not just like beautiful. You look at me and say, oh, they're okay. But their husbands are saying, this is the most beautiful woman in the world. And you're like, okay, and I'm thinking, she's nice but beautiful. But every woman, to him, she's the most beautiful woman. I never got that. When I went to minister, and I'm not going to talk about the whole thing in my book, but when I got off track was when the enemy put a man in my life that was not to be in my life, that was a sexual predator, had hundreds of women, said to me, the first text he sent to me after he wanted me to send him a picture of me and him, of a selfie after his meeting that night. OMG, you're beautiful. He had me, because I kept saying, the next man you send in my life, God, just let him use the word beautiful, because I never heard it. I always heard you were cute. And when he said, oh my God, you're beautiful, it was like, oh my God, finally. Even guys I dated, and they never said you're beautiful. And I'm not saying I'm beautiful, but it's just I'm sorry, my voice, but just to hear that, and it's like, and he'd always say it. I mean, it's a long story. You have to get my book to hear my story. It's just too much to even start. But But that was the word that the enemy, because that's the word I long to hear. And so women, you have to know that you're beautiful. Nobody has to tell me. I mean, I know I'm beautiful. I'm just saying, you gotta love yourself. I'm beautiful inside, but I was longing for someone to say it. And that steered my life for 16 months to get involved in a cult and just a bunch of craziness. But you are valuable. You got to understand that a man does not have to define who you are. A man. Listen, I have learned so much. I went through a counseling, and I didn't minister for a whole year in 2019. Sat myself down for healing and restoration, and thank God for Daystar Joni and Marcus Lamb sent me to counseling. And I'm just telling you, I know who I am. I'm in love with Jesus more than ever before. And women fall in love with Jesus. See, I was looking for that. I was looking for someone to say, "Hey, you're awesome. You're beautiful. You're this. You know." And I'm so in love with Jesus more than I ever been. Listen, my next CD, y'all ain't gonna be able to handle it. It's you're gonna be able to handle it. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's a whole nother level. And I don't know if I'll ever even date again. I'm just being honest with you. I am just so caught up with my relationship with the Lord that I don't have to have a man to tell me I'm beautiful. I don't have to tell anybody to tell me I'm beautiful, because I know I have God, and I know that if I stay close to Him, and I did some awful things, Pastor. I did some awful things. This man had my mind. He convinced me that I was his wife already. Little did I know he told, at the same time he was telling me, hundreds of women. He had my mind, but now God has my mind, and I'm on a mission to help women not to be a secret. I was a secret for 16 months. I was told to be a secret. No more secrets. When I went public, I have no more secrets. It's wonderful not to have a secret. Women, if you're watching, let me just tell you something. If you're in a relationship that's a secret, get out. There's nothing good about being in a secret relationship. No, you are valuable. You are beautiful. God has that right person for you that will walk out in public and walk down the street holding your hand, go to church with you, go to family functions. If you have to hide out in a hotel, get out. And let me just tell one more thing. I've had women that have reached out to me since I went public with my book and said they are their pastor's girlfriend for years. We have a 7-year-old son. We have to sit in the balcony. He keeps telling me he's going to divorce First Lady, but he hasn't done it yet. Get out. Well, I'm pastor's side chick. I have to watch him every Sunday. Dozens. I said, no more secrets. I'm not telling you to go blast it, but you need to get out of that relationship. Being a secret is no good. There's nothing good about being in a secret relationship. You are valuable. You need to find somebody. Let God bring that person in your life that's going to cherish you, that's going to only want you and not keep you a secret. No more secrets. And I talk about that. I have 3 or 4 other girls that were involved with this sexual predator in my book, sharing their story. And so my mission, my other ministry I have now is just sharing with women that they're valuable, fall in love with Jesus. If I wasn't in a situation if I would have been closer and had my mind more in the Word of God, when that man came at me, I would have said, you know what? No, this ain't right. So no more secrets.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, and another note, I just want to say congratulations. Reva is getting married.
What?
I am so
blessed. Who are you married?
Man of God. And
Yeah.
I remember, Reva, in that note, because there's ladies watching and we all pastor. I'm a co-pastor, with my husband, Pastor Calvin Morgan, you all know, and Reva, you met him, and Vicki, you too, and that's Dr. Gord's brother. But we're around women that get caught up, and personally, I'm like, I didn't even know they were together. Women get caught up. But I remember you sharing this with me when you came to minister, and you said, you had every opportunity you wanted to, because your pain from your divorce was so painful. And just the pain. I know pain is the indication that you're moving towards your purpose. That's what I said. But share that a little bit. When you told me that, you said you had you wanted to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. I really part of my issues at the time, though, I was insecure. 4 kids. I had one that's special needs, and in my mind, I was thinking, who would want me? Then I had drama around me, and so I have to say that it's been, since I've been divorced, it's been 10 years. That's a long time. Some people think, they look at me, oh, that just happened yesterday. 10 years. So walking through a season of 10 years, it was almost as if God said, you know what? No man's gonna get the credit for any of this. Woo. All this stuff that's been birthing, all these things that's happening, all these blessings coming, because, I am the foolish thing that confound the wise. People would say, oh, she's not able to carry a ministry, not knowing what I did before, or she's not able to handle that kind of pressure and all those things. And God says, oh yeah, they'll see. But it was by his grace, his mercy. I didn't connect to any other ministry. I didn't have anybody pouring money into our accounts or anything like that. It was by the grace and power of God. And that's why I want to encourage women all the time to say, listen, God is your provider. He really is. And he is the one that's going to comfort you in the midnight hour. Because there were times I would cry. There were times I would feel so lonely. And it was the presence of God that really fills you up, and he can satisfy you. But at the same time, I still wanted to be married and wanted a husband. And so this year I got engaged, and it's amazing. I have to say, it's amazing. And
yeah,
yes. So I got my little engagement ring here. It's pretty nice. It's beautiful. He's a really great guy. He loves the Lord. He's not a pastor, but he's in ministry, kingdom marketplace ministry. And he understands the assignment that I have, and they do match. And so it's a really good thing. So right now we're in counseling. I believe very strongly in that. Like Vicki has said, it's so important to go through counseling before we even set a date. And so we have a really godly Christian couple, and I want to just give a shout out to them, Sandra and John Posey. They are amazing Christian counselors. They do something when you have an investment, when you have a business plan, they have a marriage plan. And it's set up just like a business to set it out, but it's spiritual. So I just want to encourage ladies. I'll be 50 this year, and it's like sometimes you think it's too late, or you think I'm too old, or you think, when is it going to happen for me? God will do it suddenly, and God will just say, stay the course and be obedient. He'll say he'll bless you. He won't bless you past your last level of obedience. So stay obedient in his word, and God will bless you.
Right. But I'm good, Reba. Right now, I'm good. Honestly, I'm good. I know. Sometimes I think I'll never. Like I said, I probably never do. And I know, like when you said, suddenly something jumped in my spirit. That's what's going to happen. Have to happen with me, because somebody inboxed me on Facebook. Hey, beautiful. I block them. They may be innocently saying. I just block them right away. Now he's like, I don't give nobody gets a chance with me. Like somebody called my office and said, we just inboxed Vicki and just said she's beautiful, and she blocked us. And I'm like, is this a long story, But I know I like that suddenly. That's what happened with you, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, Reva, that you shared that with ladies, because sometimes it's hard for us to wait, and you giving your age and letting us know that, hey, you just keep on course. We need to hear that. And then all of a sudden your Boaz comes in, and, but they can't get the credit for what God did. And I like what you shared. God gets the total credit. They're not, you didn't need anything from no man. That's what I'm hearing. You don't need nothing from no man.
Exactly. And so being 100% whole. So maybe I didn't realize that God said those 10 years was necessary for you to be 100% whole.
Yeah.
What you went through. And so when two 100% whole people come together, that is where the power of God is. And so that's how you can become one for real. And so, yes, I don't necessarily need a man to survive or need a man to tell me I'm beautiful or that make me happy. I'm happy in the Lord. I have the joy of the Lord already. And so when we come together, that's where the power is.
Right.
Thank you. Dr. Gord, you experience as a pastor, different, women just want to get married, and you have close people by you all the time, and they travel with you, have you ever experienced someone in ministry that just can't stay focused because they're so eager to get married, and have you ever experienced anything? Because women are in ministry, and and Vicky said, we can't get tricked up. We can't have no secrets. And
Right.
being in ministry, I mean, people got secrets. I've experienced someone in our ministry that got married. I'm like, and they came and sat together. And I'm like, what happened? We're married, Pastor. And I'm like, okay. I mean, hey, they bypassed the counseling, Reba.